Okay, so we're going to have a look at this Edco A paper, and this is question 3, and this is a question on probability. And so just a good idea to label the topic that you're doing on the question so that if you go to revise, you'll have it there. We're told that a group of third year students decide to raise some money for a local athletics club. They create a game of chance called Triple Your Money, and they charge €2 to play this game. So at some stage in the question, you'd have to guess that the €2, if the game is called Triple Your Money, could turn into €6 depending on whether it goes your way or not. And what are the rules of the game? Well, you're going to spin a spinner numbered 1 to 3, so 1, 2, and 3, and there is 3 possible outcomes when you spin the spinner. And you're going to roll an unbiased die, and when you roll an unbiased die, there is 6 possible outcomes, all with an equal chance of happening. So on the side of the page, I would just write down that the fundamental principle of counting says that if we have m possible outcomes of one event and n possible outcomes of another event, then the total possible outcomes is m times n. So in this case, I can tell that there's going to be 3 times 6, or 18 total possible outcomes when I spin the spinner and roll the die. So this isn't a question that we've been asked here, but it's just important that we get it down and we revise other things as we're looking at each of the questions. Part A of the question asks us to write down all of the possible outcomes. So let's go and do a two-way table. They say a two-way diagram may help you, so we'll do a two-way table. On the side, I am going to write down the spinner possibilities, so spinner. And what could happen on the spinner? You could get a 1, you could get a 2, and you could get a 3. And then on the top, I'm going to write down the die, and what could happen when you roll the fair die. You could get a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. Now you'll have a ruler, you'll be able to grid off boxes here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add these two numbers together and put them in the two-way table. So if you get a 1 on the spinner and a 1 on the die, that's a 2. A 1 on the spinner and a 2 on the die, that's a 3. And you fill in each of the grids as so. A 2 and a 1, well, that's a 3. A 2 and a 2 is a 4. And so on. And we can see the kind of pattern that takes place. And finally, a 3 on the spinner and a 1 on the die is a 4. And then we have a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, and a 9. And you can see that this is 6 wide and 3 high, which means that there is 18 total possible outcomes. Now, how do you win this game, or how do you get your money back? So we're told in the question that if the total of the die and the spinner is even, you get your money back. So even, you get €2, which is your money back. If you get a 9, you win €6. So how do you triple your money? You have to roll a 9. And so the first question is, work out the probability of winning the game. The only way that you can win this game is if you get a 9. And so if we have a look, there is only one occurrence of a 9 out of 18 possible outcomes. And so the probability of winning the game, or the probability of a 9, is 1 out of 18. So when we write probability, we generally write it as a fraction. You could also write it as a decimal or a percentage, but a fraction is fine. Given that we have the total possible outcomes is 18, most of the probabilities will be out of 18. What's the probability of getting your money back? So what's the probability of getting your money back? So let's say of winning €2. So the probability of winning €2, you get your money back if it's even. So let's circle all the even outcomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 times out of 18, you'll get an even number when you add the numbers. So 9 out of 18, which is 1 out of 2, or there's a 50% chance of getting your money back. If 180 students play the game, how many students are expected to win? So remember, the probability of winning this game, we've said, is 1 out of 18. Now, what's a little formula for expected frequency? So the expected frequency, the expected amount of people you would expect to win, that's going to be the probability of winning, so the probability multiplied by the number of trials, or in this case, the number of people. So the expected amount of people you would expect to win is the probability of winning, which is 1 over 18, multiplied by the number of people playing the game, which is 180, and 1 over 18 times 180, we can do that in our head, that's going to be 10. So we would expect 10 people to win this game. That's not to say that it would definitely be 10, but that's what we would expect. Now, if 180 students play the game, how many would we expect to get their money back? Well, it's the same formula. So what's the probability of getting your money back? You have a 50% chance or a 1 out of 2 chance of getting your money back. 180 people are playing the game. So a half times 180 is 90. So we would expect 90 people would get their money back. Okay, so if 180 students play the game, how much can the class expect to raise for their club? Now, to play the game, it costs €2. So the first thing I'm going to write down is how much they're going to take in. So let's call that the income. And so it's 180 people are going to play the game. They're going to pay €2 each. So 180 times 2 is €360. Now, how much will they pay out? Well, first of all, they have to pay the people who win the game. Now, we would expect 10 people to win the game out of the 180. We've already said that in part D of the question. And if 10 people win the game, that's 10 people will get €6. And so 10 times €6 is €60 would have to be paid out in terms of people who won the game. Okay, but then also you have to give money back. So money back. And we've said that we would expect that 90 people would get their money back, and they'll get €2 each. So 90 times 2 is 180. So our income is 360, but then we have to give 60 to the winners and 180 to the people who got an even number and get their money back. So how much will they raise? Well, they will raise the 360 minus the 60 minus the 180. And 360 minus 60 is 300, minus 180 is €120. And that's how much we'd expect them to raise. They'd pay out 240, these two amounts, and they would take in 360, giving them a profit of 120. Now, suggest one rule or change in a rule the class could make or could use to make more money, assuming the same number play the game. There's infinite answers to this. I mean, a very easy answer is to raise more money. If somebody gets an even number, just give them €1 back. So that seems fair. If you get an even number, you only get €1 back. How would that change it? Well, then we would only be given €90 back to the people, or we'd expect to give €90 back, and so we'd make an extra €90 profit, which would be a €210 profit. So there's infinite amount of changes you could make to the game and to the odds, and that's one possible answer. Okay, that's question 3 on probability.